Well, hello. I have sitting beside me Elliot Richards, who lives in Beijing, and he's Elliot
Richards.
Elliot Richards on EVs, which is now rebranded as Everything Electric, because this is the Everything Electric show, and he's a presenter for them. So thank you very much for taking the time, Elliot. It's very much appreciated.
Well, thank you for inviting me. I like talking to...
You like talking?
Well, I like talking,
we'll get on great then. So the topic I thought we'd cover today is full self-driving, because Tesla's just released its version in China. Now, I've seen some videos where, yes, it's not, but I saw a video last night of this girl taking her Tesla on a self-driving thing, and they were all mind-blown by how good it was. So it looks like it's a little bit...
Yeah, so I think for the one who's mind-blown, I think expectations are low for Tesla's full self-driving in China. So Tesla's only just released it.
It was last week, I think.
Yeah, last week. And in that time, Chinese companies have been able to develop their own systems, which are exceptionally good.
Yeah, I've seen some of them.
Sort of radar-based, LiDAR-based, camera-based, all of them. And it's almost in every new electric vehicle now. So when Tesla comes in and says, we're going to bring this software in, which is, how old is it? 5, 6, 7 years old?
Yeah.
Yeah. People are like, oh.
Well, it's a bit more mature now. I mean, I was in Kansas City July last year.
Yeah.
And I hired a Tesla Model Y, because that's what I've got at home. And I put full self-driving. I had to pay the $100 for the month subscription for 5 days driving, but I just had to try it out. And that was 12.6.3. I was mind-blown.
Okay.
It was brilliant. And it's improved since then, because they're up to 13.2.8, I think. Now, I had to have a couple of one critical intervention.
Okay.
But for 5 days worth of driving, and, I was going around the corner, I programmed it in and said, take me there.
So I think context is important, because full self-driving has been developed in America for America, right?
Yes.
Yes, technically it could be used elsewhere. It's a very American-specific product. That's why you used it in America, not here in Australia.
I'd love to use it here in Australia.
But it's been trained on the traffic patterns, how American, traffic works. So that's why it doesn't transfer so well to China, whereas the Chinese manufacturers have only been focused on Chinese-specific driving scenarios.
And looking at the way they drive in China, it's a little bit different to other countries. So it's a case of, I'm going into that lane.
Yes.
If you don't want to hit me, don't hit me. Keep out the way.
Yes, it's a very different. And in China, in big cities, you have people just walk across the road, lots of bikes, electric scooters and everything. So it's a very complex situation. So having self-driving in cities like Guangzhou, which is very chaotic at the best of times, is remarkable. So applying that American full self-driving into China, it's never going to be great from the get-go, is it? Because it hasn't been trained in China.
It would like be taking it into Indonesia.
Yeah.
Where there's thousands of bikes on the road going every which way. India.
Exactly.
It's the same.
And so these videos we're seeing now are obviously not going to be very good, because it's brand new software. It hasn't really been trained it's been trained on Chinese data, but it hasn't got real world experience.
Yeah.
So I think
it will come.
It will come.
Yeah.
But the question is it going to be as good as, a company like Xpeng, who has spent tens of thousands of hours developing their own software in China for Chinese users?
Now, interesting you bring up Xpeng.
Yes.
They've just cancelled LiDAR, and their latest cars have got vision only.
Correct. And I remember going on a shoot, I think 2 years ago with Xpeng, and they said, LiDAR is the way forwards. We've managed to reduce the price of a LiDAR unit to about $1,000, for example.
I think it's about $100 for a LiDAR now.
So they've really brought down the price. We thought, okay, this is the way forwards. Elon Musk has always said, no, LiDAR's not the answer. But now they seem to be backtracking, and it changes every week, so it's hard to keep up. I don't really understand the rationale behind it. I think it's probably more affordable.
You live there, so you see it happening all the time. So I mean, they've got the Mona 03 here, which started life as a BYD.
Yes.
And they're even putting it in that.
Yes. I mean, that's outstanding. And that's what we're seeing a lot of at the moment, is these more affordable cars. That car is 20,000 Australian dollars new.
In China?
In China, yes.
Yeah.
So
not here yet, unfortunately.
No. But the fact they're bringing it over here means they've probably got a pretty strong intention to start exporting that. It's been a great success for them. But yeah, affordable car, you know, even the lowest models can have some version of self-driving. It's not a subscription, it's just included in the car.
It's included in the price, which is just something Tesla needs to learn, I think.
Exactly. But I think for me, the most groundbreaking thing happened about 3 weeks ago with BYD, who announced their God's Eye.
God's Eye, yes. In everything.
In everything. So that will really bring it to the mass market. They sell 300,000 cars per month.
Yes.
And if every car has that.
FEVs and BEVs.
FEVs, you know, whatever they make. So that's really going to be groundbreaking because they sell so many cars. So many people get exposed to self-driving.
Yeah. And there was a few people that were a bit peed off in Australia about that announcement.
And China. People who bought the car a week before and said, oh, so I'm not going to get the God's Eye, but the guys who buy it 2 weeks later will get it. Yeah. So I think BYD had a huge amount of complaints. They'll rectify it somehow.
They'll do something, yeah. Now, I think the best one that I've seen is Avatar 2 or 11 or...
It's 1.1. Officially called 1.1, yeah.
Avatar 1.1. I mean, it's not a cheap car.
No.
But bloody hell, that drove at high speed around a racetrack on full self-driving.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I just looked at that video and I went...
So that's becoming the norm now. I mean, obviously that's with Huawei self-driving technology. And of course...
They own Avatar, do they? Huawei?
No,
they're using Huawei.
Yeah, they're using Huawei's operating system in the car. Yeah, and it's got the same system on the radar, whatever. They've had great success with self-driving. They're probably at the forefront, I think, of self-driving technology in China, and very normal to see those cars self-driving. But I think, for me, I drove a GAC, their Guangzhou Automobile Company. Yeah. And we got into this car. It's a big luxury SUV. I wasn't expecting much. And they said, oh, it's got self-driving. I thought, oh, okay, it's probably not going to be very good. It drove 99% of the journey in Shanghai. They didn't give us a predestined route. We just said, drive wherever you want. 99% of that was flawless.
Yes.
And this is...
It's getting there, isn't
it?
So, I mean, coming back to the Avatar 1.1, I mean, I've got it, 3 LiDARs, plus multiple cameras, plus radar and ultrasound. I mean, it's just it's a walking or a driving machine with all those
and I think
around it.
In some ways, it's really good because it makes driving much safer for both the occupants of the car and the people outside the car, you know, children running in the road or whatever. I do feel it's getting a bit towards the point where it's de-skilling drivers, for example, self-parking.
Yes.
You just press a button now and it parks itself. But in some situations, you can't do that. So I'm a bit torn.
I refuse to use that. I always reverse park wherever I am. So, you know, I've been going out on the test drives here, and so I always come back and reverse park because that's what they want anyway. And they say, oh, you can use that. No, thank you. I'll just drive it myself.
Yeah.
And on one car, I was just pulling in, not exactly slow, because I've got it down pat, and one of the guys walks across. Well, I thought I'd hit something. It slammed on the automatic emergency brake like you wouldn't believe. And I go, oh shit, I've hit something. He goes, no, John was walking across the back. And I go, phew.
So I think it's good from a safety perspective, but I do feel that sometimes on the highway, it's an excuse to get your phone out. So it's self-driving itself on the highway, and then you can just start messaging your mates. And I feel because you still got to be in control of the car. You still need, you know, something might happen that the car can't cope with, and it deactivates the system. So I think there's some work to be done.
Yeah, look, I mean, Robotaxi, he's saying by June, July, it's going to be going in Austin, Texas.
Forget it.
I still, look, having driven, it was only version 12, and having a critical intervention, or I would have gone straight into the crash barrier where it meets, and that wouldn't have been very nice. I mean, Model Ys are safe anyway, but yeah, I'm still a bit dubious. I mean, I'm old school. I learnt to drive a manual back in the 60s.
Hey, me too, but not in the 60s.
Not in the 60s. You weren't even thought of then.
Yeah, so, you know, are we moving into that future where we won't have steering wheels in cars. I think probably, and it's not too far away, probably in the next 5 years. Will that be Tesla? I think it's unlikely.
Only because they're on pure vision?
Yeah, I just don't feel that tech. If this tech was so amazing and ready to go, they'd be doing the Waymo taxis like they have in San Francisco. So why?
Yeah, but you look at the Waymos; they got about 20 lidars, 5 radars, and so much.
Exactly,
and they're geo-fenced.
Yeah,
and they use high definition maps. And then when the council come along and dig up the road, they get a bit confused. Yeah. So,
and this is a company that just focuses on, that's the only thing they do is self-driving. Whereas Tesla does, they make the cars, they design cars and motors.
The robots.
And robots and
battery packs.
So that they don't have 100% focus on self-driving.
Well, the people I think in the self-driving area are fully focused on it.
Oh, for sure, but
Elon's focused on cutting government jobs at the moment.
Let's not go there.
Yeah. So my shares are dropping dramatically. But, it'll come back.
I'm sure.
I'm still in profit. So, yeah, look, a lot of them are using lidars.
Yes.
Except Xpeng or Xiaopeng.
Yeah.
And one thing that I've seen is that the software is the big one. It makes the difference between, a good self-driving car and a bad self-driving car.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that was someone just sticking their head around the door.
Yeah, so I think the software part, the Chinese automakers have really, Tesla has very, very good software, but the Chinese automakers also have very, very good software. It's the Germans and the Japanese who are really struggling in that area. So I think, VW are now teaming up with Xpeng to use their platforms and their software in their upcoming cars.
Hopefully they'll do something, because a lot of these automakers are not going to be around by 2030. No. I don't think. Certainly some of the Japanese ones.
No. So I think what Stellantis have done with Leap, very smart. And I think, VW has good hardware, good design, just their software is their weak part. And if they can borrow that from a Chinese automaker, I think that's good.
One thing I have noticed in a couple of the test drives and looking in the cars is a lot of them have copied the Tesla layout. I got into one and he was showing me how to adjust the wing mirrors, and I'm going, that is Tesla.
Yeah.
That is just straight off the Tesla.
Yeah, definitely. So there is still a lot of
copying.
Yeah, it's copying, and it's, even the Xpeng Mona, they say, the founder of Xpeng says, that's a homage to the Model 3.
It looks very much like the Model 3. Yes. Inside, it's the Model 3, but it's a third the price.
Yeah.
Looking at that, if they bring that here, you can forget the Model 3. I think that's just going to go gangbusters.
Significant,
it's going to be a significant player.
Yes.
And hopefully they'll bring the right-hand drive model over into Australia.
I have a feeling they will.
Yes, they are talking about
They wouldn't bring it here if they weren't serious about it, is my feeling.
Although, Zeekr have got the Zeekr Mix here.
Yes.
And they've got no idea whether it's going to come here or not.
I can promise, I don't know anything, but I can promise you that car is going everywhere.
Right.
They obviously can't say anything, but...
No, yes.
Why would you bring it here?
Well, yeah, look at what we can do.
Yeah.
Yes. I quite like the Zeekr Mix. I think it's very different.
I think it's great, really well thought out. I know someone who owns one in Shanghai. He's actually selling it after about 4 months because he finds the front door, a sliding front door.
Yeah.
He says it's too slow. He says to get out of the car, that sliding front door just takes too long to open. So if you're in traffic, and he was getting really frustrated trying to get his kids in and out of the car, he just said it's too slow. No car's perfect, but...
Yeah, okay, fine. Everybody's got their reason.
Different requirements, so...
Yeah. The direction that the full self-driving is going, it's got to get better, obviously.
Yes.
China, as you say, is a different kettle of fish, and they need to... Tesla needs to work on getting data there. I know the Chinese government have said you can't take the data out.
That's right.
You can't take the data out, and the US won't let them take the data. Oh dear. Politics.
Yeah.
So it's going to take them a while to get the data that's needed.
Yes.
Europe's not too bad. That drives very similar to America, left-hand drive. The UK is its own thing.
Yes.
They've got very tight, windy lanes.
Yes, very tight.
I lived there for 30 years and was driving around for a long time. And yeah, it's a bit different there.
That's right.
Again.
And even though a lot of these systems have been built previously a lot of systems were built after they mapped the area. So they'd go around all of Shanghai, they'd map every road, and you kind of get the computer kind of understands what Shanghai is like. The systems now that they're bringing out don't need to have that mapping installed. Essentially, it can just look at the scene in front of it and judge whether it's safe to go.
But it's got to have a map so that it knows how to get from A to B.
Yeah, of course, it's got navigation, but it doesn't have to have high-quality photos of every street, which is what it used to have, which means that these cars with this software can, in theory, go to places like Australia. You can plonk it on the street. It could read the road.
Just make sure that it's driving on the correct side of the road, not the right side.
Correct, and you'd have to tell it like not to turn on red lights. In China we can turn on red. So there's a few little bits, but essentially the software itself is so smart that you don't need to map it. So you could bring that car into Australia and it would work. And that is really a significant step.
I am so looking forward to getting some sort of automatic driving here in Australia.
It will come. I think regulations will be what stops you the most.
We've got the regulations at the moment, but I don't know, Australian government, please do something about it.
Yes.
So you're in Beijing.
Shanghai.
Sorry.
It's all right.
Shanghai.
I used to be in Beijing.
You used to be in Beijing.
Yeah.
Okay. And you drive
So I used to drive an Xpeng G3.
Yeah.
But I sold that 2 years ago. Right. I don't drive.
You don't drive? You've got an automatic driving car?
Well, no. My wife has a Tesla Model 3, the Highland, the new version.
Oh, the new one, yeah.
But I live close to my work, so I just walk.
Well, that's...
Public transport's so good that I don't need to drive, so...
Yes. Yeah, the one thing here in Australia is public transport is somewhat lacking. I mean, there's plenty of it, but, I mean, where I live, the bus will take us to the train station once every half an hour.
Okay.
But on the hour, it's from that stop, and you've got to go around the corner to the other stop on the half hour.
Yeah.
And then you get there, and you've got to wait 15 minutes for the next train.
Yes. And it's a diesel bus, more than likely.
Yes.
Yeah, that's the biggest disappointment coming here. You've got such a beautiful city, and it's very clean.
They're getting electric buses.
I've seen a couple, but
yeah.
there's still too many diesel ones.
Yeah.
It takes time.
It does, but I mean, we are getting some electric buses in and around Perth. But, yeah, it's one of those things.
I mean, not every government can change them overnight, like Shenzhen did, right?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, they just basically overnight put on 40,000 buses and 60,000 taxis. These are all electric now.
Yeah.
What did they do with all the others? Sell them to other places?
It's a good question. I think probably a few of them went to other smaller cities and towns, but then eventually they would have all got scrapped.
Yeah.
So
I mean, that was just amazing. And, I mean, our government here, certainly in WA, when the Minister for the Environment is my local member, so I'm always knocking him up and going, oi, what about... And a few years ago, what about getting electric buses? Yeah, we're going to get one on a test.
Okay.
Well, how long for? Well, a year or two. I said, just go to Shenzhen and have a look and see what they did.
Yeah. One trip to Shenzhen, you see.
Just go one trip to Shenzhen and, you'll see that they stuck in 40,000 buses. It was virtually overnight. It took them
it took them a few weeks, but...
and then you've got a massive battery backup at night when they're plugged in. Yeah. So
at least they're not going down the hydrogen route. A lot of local authorities go, we can't go electric yet. Let's go hydrogen first and then see how that works out.
Yeah, that's not working out. I mean, Shell closed some hydrogen stations in California. It's just closed them all now.
Yeah. So you've got
it's realised
that
that's not going to happen.
No.
Not at the moment when It's 5 times the price of petrol for travelling a certain distance. And in Perth, we had one filling station. So you get a car that will do 600 k's. We go 300. You've got to turn around and do 300 back to fill up. Yeah, it doesn't work out. No. But electric is the way to go. I mean,
absolutely.
We're all on that bat.
Yeah.
Look, thank you very much for coming.
It's been a pleasure.
It's absolutely wonderful. It's great when this is my 3rd time here.
Mm-hmm.
Your
third time here,
because you're not too far away to fly down.
10 hours. Yeah.
Rather than the rest of them, which is flown from the UK.
A long way. Yeah.
And they don't bring everybody because I was speaking to Dan Caesar, who's the CEO, he's boss man, and I said, you didn't bring Jack, and he says, no, we think of the carbon footprint.
Yeah.
So look, you're doing the right thing. You're walking the walk and talking the talk.
Oh, thank you.
And I really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you.
It's been an absolute pleasure.
Likewise.
There you have it, my interview with Elliot Richards from China, who works with everything electric. That was great. I mean, we covered a few things such as full self-driving wars between China and the US, or Tesla, and some of these other cars. He reckons that they're coming to Australia because they were at the show. I would really hope that that's true, and it probably is. So thank you very much for watching. Now don't forget, click that like and subscribe button below. Thank you so much. It really, really, really does help the channel. And while you're down there, check out my Ko-fi page, my Tesla referral. On my Ko-fi page, there's a link to the Ko-fi page, and there you'll see the odd video that I put up there, not on YouTube. So if you go there and if you could subscribe, that would be great, and then you will get some extra bonuses. So thank you very much, and I'll see you all very soon.